Okay. Okay.
Welcome to the Wadio show. The Wadio show. The to the
Yeah.
radio free. You were gonna tell us you had an intro or something?
Yeah, man. I know that what we're going to talk about today is Lenny Bruce, who's a guy that a lot of people do not know who he is. So before we get started, let me introduce Lenny Bruce. So people that love stand-up comedy, he is a legend who is a cornerstone of modern day comedy. A lot of people don't know who he is, but who he was is this. He was a boy born into the vaudeville circuit by a mother who is like a singer, dancer, comedian. And vaudeville is an interesting thing to explore for all you folks out there. You should check out vaudeville, and it's freaking bedrock to everything from Broadway to Hollywood and the power of that theater circuit. So, this is a man who was born into that theater circuit. He became a very famous comedian. He was on shows like Jack Parr, and I don't think he was around when Johnny Carson came on the scene, but he was in a national stage. And then, he was this guy who was extremely bold and courageous. He spoke his mind, very interesting human being. So he was like a minister on crack. He was a guy who broke open stand-up comedy into a forum to speak your mind. He actually died while he was fighting the supreme government for right to speak. And Lenny Bruce is a guy to know. What do you think, Eric?
I think that's a great synopsis of him. If I could follow, I mean, he was a revolutionary, right? He was
Right?
kind of a young gunner, fucking stunner, and he fought a lot of this stuff in the streets and like publicly and like stood up
Very
for
kind of in your face about
what he
things
was.
he believed
A
in,
lot of,
really, right?
well, yeah, a lot of people thought he was kind of vulgar and awful, and he led a life that was kind of seedy. And but I guess you know, we'll get to
Yeah, all
that.
that's true, though. All of that's true. Without a doubt.
Well, he
All
grew
of
up
that.
in that kind of situation, right? He grew up
Well,
to a
yeah.
mother, you said, who was very
She was
much a
in
part
the
of that
vaudeville
scene.
circuit. Yeah,
Yeah.
she was in the vaudeville circuit,
So
which
what's
is
the
a big deal.
vaudeville?
Huh?
What is the describe the vaudeville at
Oh,
that time?
sure.
Like,
Vaudeville was like a theater circuit, dude. Believe it or not, like one of the hubs was Peoria, Illinois, home of Caterpillar, freaking Caterpillar stuff for
like the
farming.
machinery and stuff.
Yeah, machinery,
Yeah.
combine, whatnot.
Okay. And
So
so it was a
anyway,
blue
but
collar
that's
steel.
now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really know what presence Caterpillar had back then, but all I know is that vaudeville, one of the hubs was Peoria, Illinois.
Hmm.
And but it was nationwide. It was a circuit of performers that were really refining their talent, kind of live or die by your talent. If the audience thinks you suck, you're not welcome back on stage. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually kind of a cutthroat, brutal thing. It attracted very talented poor people who had a shot to make that American dollar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Through entertainment. But you had to be good, because if you weren't, they'd rip you off that stage and
Or you
maybe.
could be shocking, which kind of seemed like the way to go. It was like they talked about the like it's no different than Las Vegas, and they're like, "Wait, is Las Vegas like this?" Like it was
Actually,
like kind
Las
of
Vegas
shocked.
didn't exist when vaudeville started. Didn't even exist.
Well, it was starting to. I mean, the idea and
Yeah,
concept, I
well,
guess.
Bugsy hadn't had his visionary quest and established that shit out in Vegas. It was just a desert back then.
Hmm.
Reno is just a freaking spot in the desert. No hookers. when he was, when vaudeville started. So
what are we
just saying.
talking about vaudeville? Are we talking about the
Well, vaudeville is where
20s and
really Lenny
30s?
Bruce came from, the vaudeville circuit, really.
Well, when was he born? In like the 40s, right?
Do you know?
I think it's like the 40s. At 25. He was born in 25.
Okay.
So you're right. It was like the 20s and 30s,
Right.
where he kind of like,
Yeah, it was before, Vegas was even around. No Carrot Top yet.
yeah.
He wasn't even a freaking sperm yet.
Well, he got going because his mom was in this vaudeville scene and she couldn't take care of him. So she sent him off and he was kind of living, I think this is all in what, New York? Pretty sure this is all
But
in
he
New
got
York.
raised by like another family member, right?
Yeah, this is all in New York, I think. He was
Well, was it upstate? Was it in the city? Where was it?
Yeah, Manola, New York. He grew up in a nearby high school. According to the biography,
Did he
his
grow up in
parents
like a small
divorced when he was
farm town?
10. So his parents divorced when he was 10, and then his British-born father, Mickey Schneider, was a shoe clerk. His mother, Sally Marr, legal name Sadie, was a stage performer and dancer, a normal influence on Bruce's career after spending some time. Okay, so then so we were gonna.
Okay, so he lived on a farm, as a kid with his parents divorced.
Yeah, well, no, he lived in the scene up until that time, and then
Right.
he got out of that scene and went to live up on a farm.
Very interesting. I know another person that had that same scenario.
Yeah, he grew up in a
James
really
Dean.
tough scene
James
with his
Dean had
mom
the
dancing.
same scenario.
Huh?
James Dean had the same scenario.
Oh.
His mom died when he was 8. He was living in LA with his parents, even though he's from Marion, Indiana. Then he was sent back to Fairmount to get raised by his aunt and uncle from when he was 8 till he graduated high school. Same kind of thing, dude. Interesting.
So he grows up in this farm with his family. It is related to him, I guess, and I'm sure kind of wiles out, probably works hard up there, who knows, whatever. But then he joins the Navy, like at 16.
Okay.
And
that would mean that he
goes
lied
off
to get in the military, which my grandfather did too.
I'm sure the household that he was living in, like,
didn't
basically
cater
like kind
to
of
his-
made him
to
or
his-
sent him off to the military.
Dude, whatever, dude. He was a city kid from vaudeville living on a farm. I bet you he read a lot of books during that time, but I bet you he didn't like it either because I'm telling you, you had to be 18 to join the military unless you lied. My grandfather lied to go into the army. He lied to go into World War II because he couldn't stand his family.
Well, that's what it sounded like here. I mean, he was young enough to not, it's 16 in
You
the
can't join the
military.
military at 16, but you can lie and get in. And he probably did that. As a matter of
He was
fact,
active
I would
service
bet on
during
it
World War
based on
II.
his fucking
was in-
lying career.
He was in Italy and Africa.
Yeah, he went around.
Yeah.
He got in. Yeah. And let's talk about his lying career, Eric. His career lying.
Here it is. This is where it all starts.
Okay.
Lenny Bruce is stuck on this freaking ship.
Right.
And he's going nuts. And he's from this extreme place and he's just freaking out. So he starts doing these crazy freaking things, as you would expect somebody who's comes from this creative place. And so he like dresses up as like an officer. So he steals his boss's clothes or whatever, and like starts giving orders. And nobody catches him. And then he starts like dressing up as this like woman who like appears as an apparition on the ship. And it's like, and all these sailors are like, oh my God, it's a woman. And it's Lenny Bruce like acting like a woman. And then like in the middle of the night, he would get up and like do this stuff and like scare people. It was all these pranks and stuff. And he became super, super popular. And they got him to prank like the top guy, and it was all fun and dandy. And then he pranked this top guy and he didn't like it, and he think he got kicked out.
Yeah, he got kicked out. And then what happened after that?
So he I think he basically started like this whole thing back, trying to connect with his mom and do the whole like scene of that nightlife club
Sure.
stuff. And
On to the
pretty much
brothels and
I
all the
think
seedy
got on the
nightclubs.
stage
Yeah.
and then somehow just ran to I think everybody was going to Hollywood. And so everybody went to Hollywood, I think. And that's kind of what
Why not go to Southern California where it's warm and the freaking girls are in
he was
bikinis?
back
Why
and
not?
forth between Hollywood and New York, and he got mixed up with these guys in the jazz scene. They blame it all on the
Oh
jazz
yeah,
scene, and these
the
jazz guys
bebop
were
jazz
getting
scene,
high
baby.
and
It's the
playing
best
jazz,
era of
improvised
jazz, by the
jazz.
way.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's kind of where it starts, and then he ends up working in these strip clubs, like
right. Of
LA strip
course.
clubs, and he
Yeah,
starts
strip
doing
club, man.
comedy.
Yeah, comedy in the strip club.
He's like introducing the girls, like he's the MC.
Right. Here's the next brothette doing her dance pole stuff. And
Well,
hey
here she
man,
is right
let me
here.
tell you a couple things before she gets on stage to make you laugh. And he started cutting his teeth.
Yeah, and then he sees one of these girls.
Oh, honey Harlow, who is to be his future wife. Look at that. Lenny Bruce had taste in good looking ladies. She was hot. She's gorgeous. We don't know about her character or integrity yet, do we, Eric?
Well, not yet, but we will. I kind of think she was
She sure is a pretty girl.
she's an okay lady.
All right, well, let's talk about Lenny Bruce and Honey Harlow.
Well,
There
sure.
he is. There he is, washing her feet like Jesus with a cigarette.
All right, so here we are, and he's doing this LA stuff. He meets her, and that's basically when his whole career takes off.
Okay, cool.
That's where everything starts to happen for him.
Sure. Dude, do
I'm
you
like
see the shadows under his eyes in that picture? He looks like he hasn't slept in 5 years, bro. It's like he's got a disease called zombieism, like creeping up his face. Dude, talk about his fucking breakfast. What was his breakfast, Eric?
I think he did an upper to start. It was like a meth or something like that, and then did like a heroin to like
Right?
even out the day, and then would do like Dilaudid or something at night to sleep.
But this was like breakfast every day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Every day, that was breakfast for Lenny Bruce, followed by a couple drinks, pack of smokes, a donut.
Here's a segment we're gonna do. Actually, you reminded me. What did you buy at the gas station the other day?
What was it?
Tell us.
Oh, at the gas station
Yeah,
today,
2 pieces of
2 pieces of pizza, 3 donuts. I got some green machine Odwalla juice, little mango orange juice,
and a
and a
cheeseburger.
cheeseburger, a pack of smokes.
That's what we got at the gas station the other day.
That was yesterday.
$42.44.
That was yesterday. Well, I nursed my freaking whiplash.
Yeah, you were in that car accident, huh? Tell us about it.
What
Tell us about
yeah.
your day yesterday.
Oh, sure. Last Friday, I was driving on the highway. I hit a freaking ice patch in the fucking tundra of North Dakota. I freaking hit that thing and my car started sliding right over that edge of the freaking shoulder. And bam, I hit a pile of snow and my car flipped. Damn, I was upside down. And then I freaking had to unbuckle myself and hit my head on the roof of my own car. I got out there and got to talk to them state troopers. And minus 20 degrees in Fargo, North Dakota. Yeah, dude. I freaking had a car accident and my back hurts right now.
That's
All
Honey.
right, bro, you're going through these pictures. What are you thinking? Oh my God, is that Honey?
That's Honey.
She's so hot. She's gorgeous. She was such a slut, though. Wasn't she? She was.
I don't know.
Dude. Yeah, you do. That chick loved everything. Women,
Well,
men.
she did love women, and they
She
actually
would
had
do
a
what
relation.
freaking Lenny told her to do. He was like
Yeah.
her pimp
Yeah,
and her
she was
husband at
actually
the same time.
Yeah, she was into guys and girls.
By
And
the way, he was not too nice to her, by the way. He was a
well,
self-serving guy, bro. I mean, if you want to talk about him as a person, he threw I don't know, man.
so anyways, they go do this and they have a child. They name her Kitty.
Kitty.
And so they kind of get like pretty well off, and like they buy this property in like LA,
They got well
and
off
they
with his
build this
stand-up comedy,
huge
though,
house, and they
right?
kind
Am
of
I
take
correct?
off, and they're kind
Am I
of like
correct?
stars.
Am I correct that he got that nice house and all that as a result of stand-up comedy?
And her career, she did some movies and stuff. So they got
She
into
did?
showbiz.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah, she was in a few movies.
Oh, okay.
I think one of them was that big movie with the big Egyptian movie, like
You talking
anyways,
about
Knights of
Elizabeth
Arabia
Taylor?
or something, I don't know what it
All
was.
right.
Yeah, but she was in there. Anyways, she wasn't they did a lot of films. They started making movies all the time. He dumped all his money into making movies. They had this awesome mansion. They had a kid. They were making movies. They were doing the cocktails, and they were it was doing okay.
It's a
And this
very
was around
interesting
like the
lifestyle.
mid-50s. So they were kind of the hot, like rebel, like couple or whatever. They were the Kanye West or whatever. They were, and then Hugh Hefner, and all that stuff. And all
Hugh
this
Hefner mixed with Kanye. I like it. All right.
Hugh Hefner, after 58 in San Francisco, he was out there and stuff. And anyways, then they're making movies. None of their movies do good, apparently, but
Well, yeah, I understand. I don't know anything about his movies. Do you?
I haven't watched one of them. I've seen clips.
I'd like to.
I've seen stills and stuff.
Like
I guess
Jim
they
Morrison from The Doors. He went to film school at UCLA, and he made some films. I've never seen them. I'd like to see those films too. Salvador Dali did a couple pretty cool films. All right, Honey Harlow, she is so hot. I can't believe that she was such a student. She must have had a low IQ. I mean, this guy sent her to prison. She laid down for him while he kept doing cocktails. And then when she gets out of prison, she goes back to him because she wanted to do more cocktails. Like, I don't know, dude. He passed her around like a hooker. He would use her to get girls. Like, he was not a nice guy, but he was pretty funny. I have to say, he was a funny guy. And he was a trailblazing, tightrope walking pioneer of stand-up comedy in the modern age.
And see, on stage, in other words, a stripper in a burlesque house on stage goes, "Here it is, boys, da-da-da, it's cool." But let her do that in the public park on the way home and their ass is in jail. And the reason for that is that the people in the park didn't ask for that. "Here it is, boys, da-da-da, it's cool." But let her do that in the public park on the way home and their ass is in jail. And the reason for that is that the people in the park didn't ask for that.
So what about that? Because I know you've been studying him. What about that in particular, like, grabbed you?
So what he's defending is that he said he's on stage. That is a place and time for that activity to exist. Just
Right.
like having intercourse or something.
Sure.
Like there is a
Time and place
sacred
for
like
things,
space
right?
for that. He's saying, I'm not on the streets yelling, "You pussy, you fucking Jew, you cunt, you," all these bad words. he's like, I'm in a performance space doing performance, and I thought performance was protected. And so he fought this shit, and he fought it all the way to the end. It drove him mad, and it drove him to not want to go out and do all the, and plus the drugs or whatever. So anyways, he's traveling around, and he's, doing these performances all over, and it attracts the attention of the police and the local people who are in outrage of what he's doing. But he's doing it kind of all over the circuit, and it's in these bars and in these clubs, and the police start to get attention or pressure on them, and they start to, bug him, get him, rub him. And so they're on his case, and they're watching him, and they're following him, and then he gets busted for drugs or something at one of these clubs. And it just, that's becomes the whole, and then I don't know if the FBI, all these organizations obviously get involved, and they put the heat on him, and they're watching him, and they're following him, and they get to know this whole underground world through Lenny Bruce.
Right.
And
was he like a conduit for it?
People,
or was he
and
like
they
almost
use him
like
as an informant. They use him as an informant, and he is in the thing, and he has no other option. I mean, pretty much. And so he leads them through this whole thing. And it's, he doesn't try to, I'm sure he tells people, look, guys, this is what's going on, don't hang out with me. But he was so popular, people did.
In other words, you can yell fire in a crowded theater if you're on stage, but don't do it off stage. The theater is make-believe. That's where it's at. And I figured out after 4 years why I got arrested so many times. See what happened.
So...
And then he goes into his rant,
The theater is make-believe. That's where it's at. And I figured out after 4 years why I got arrested so many times. See what happened. It's been a comedy of errors. Here's how it happened.
Okay. So for a guy, so it's a very good point that, like, to put constrictions around theater type performance, which comedy is a dangerous thing, because what he was fighting against was your ability to get creative with ideas, whether it's about people or systems or whatever. And he had clamps coming down on him. So I kind of have a new revelation about him though now.
What's that?
Because the things that he was talking about on stage was based on the trouble he was getting in. And he was kind of using the stage as a platform to protect him. And he was pissing people off, dude. I mean, all right, you tell me what you know about how he would burn bridges or throw people under the bus. You tell me.
Once he became the informant, once he was identified as the guy who could get these, he was protected because he was this popular celebrity, but it was going to lead all these FBI agents into this world, this underground world. Lenny was protected, so the underground world accepted him. Little did they know they were bringing in these hyenas right behind him. And I'm sure Lenny at some point was just like, look, I'm untouchable in all these areas. Like, I don't know what's going on. It's too much. And yet they came down on the hammer with him eventually, because, they're going to, with somebody who's going to live that kind of life. And he fought it, and he fought for this freedom of speech, and the drug stuff was the way that they could get him, just like Al Capone. They got him on taxes. Really, he was doing this other stuff, so they got him on these drugs, but really they were after this other
but he was a conduit into an underbelly for them.
He ended up throwing people under the bus along the way, and
so he probably
was forced to, and he did, and he became kind of known as this guy who's this big time tornado, but don't get too close. It's very fun to watch, but don't get
so
too
tell
close.
Tell me if this is a good way to encapsulate it. he's a guy that got in the pinch, right? He got pinched by being involved with the underbelly, but yet he just called attention to himself to like an organization like the FBI. And then they put him in a pinch. And when they pinched him, he started throwing anybody and everyone under the bus, so long as he could keep doing a morning cocktail.
So he ended up throwing Honey under the bus, and she was in jail for a year and a half.
His wife.
His wife.
And then she laid down, as the mob would say. She laid down for him, and she went to fucking prison for a year and a half. And she came back to him. God, this guy must have been charismatic.
Yeah, she was arrested in New York. They were traveling around, right? And so
Right.
it was just like this thing, and they got kicked out of Las Vegas. Like they both got
How do you
kicked
get
out of
kicked out of Las
Vegas.
Vegas?
And then he got arrested.
How did he get kicked out of Las
The
Vegas?
snitching continued. He got arrested in New York finally after all this, and it just went super downhill. And he fought all this stuff in New York while being, I think, in LA on all these drugs and trying to fight all this. And what happened is it just kind of drove him mad, and everything he did on stage was just this rant of him fighting this whole case and stuff. And I think he kind of became a recluse and kind of, was again doing, I think, an upper, they said, but they also said, yes, he was doing all these drugs. An upper in the morning, a freaking heroin in the afternoon, and a freaking Dilaudid to sleep.
I thought it was a cocktail.
It seemed like a cocktail for sure. But what they said was
together, I thought
he was still doing this and maintaining fine. He wasn't like whatever. And then somebody said maybe they knew he was doing all these drugs and they could slip him something in there that would have killed him.
Okay.
That's kind of the conspiracy around it.
Okay.
But
so I think that, I notice a lot of people will get lost in the conspiracy of things, like, so maybe we might not know exactly how he was offed, or if he
hey, let's do oh, you froze. Let's do that game where you pretend to be somebody talking about Lenny Bruce.
Oh, okay. Like, I'm just talking about Lenny Bruce from the perspective of whoever it is you say, right?
Yeah.
Like type of person.
So from the perspective of Honey's mother.
That douchebag! My daughter's in prison. She's been in prison. It ain't because of her. It's because of a douchebag of a husband, Lenny. I can't stand him. I call him in the morning. I'm asking about my daughter. He's talking in some gibberish, crazy language because he's so high on drugs.
All right. From the perspective of Lenny Bruce's best friend.
I'm going to get together with him in an hour. He always comes with the goods. Love this guy. He's so funny. Love this guy. Yesterday, he threw his chick in jail.
A girl at the strip club that Lenny works at, who he's introducing and kind of like running the show with.
He always makes me feel so good. We usually have sex before I go on stage. It's usually when his wife goes in the other room to do her drugs. He's a pretty good lay. He introduces me well. I love Lenny. He's a cutie.
The DEA who's trying to get Lenny to like sign on to this agenda to be a snitch informant.
Trust me. I know this guy will lay down for nobody. He's morally and ethically corrupt. He's obviously the cancer of our nation, but he's also a conduit into an underbelly that we plan to expose. I'm going to use him like a hooker. Tired of this guy. He makes fun of me every time I see him. Hate him. Gonna get him.
All right, do Honey Harlow.
I love Lenny. We have such a nice time together. Sometimes I cry, though. Usually when he asks me to bring a girl in, and then she has sex with me, then she has sex with him, and I don't feel good about it, but then we party, get so high. Then I go on stage and shake my tatas. And then, we usually just go home, go to bed. We have a daughter. We just, have something to eat and go to sleep.
Welcome to the Wadio Show. The Wadio Show. The Wadio Show. Welcome to the Wadio Show. Come Wadio with me.